welcome to everybody. My name is Kaylee Potter, I'm from Sweep, and I'm going to be moderating this webinar today. So we will be having a Q&A session at the end. So as they come up, please drop your questions in the Q&A box. You'll see it just down on the bottom of your screen. Yeah, thanks so much for joining, and let's kick off. So sustainability is undoubtedly one of the most pressing issues of our times, as is evident from mounting regulatory requirements, investor pressure, and consumer demand for greater accountability. And data is crucial to navigate these dynamics as we transition into this low carbon era. So today we're going to discuss the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for companies, and we're going to delve into the results of a joint research report published by Sweep and Capgemini. So for this, we carried out a survey of more than 500 sustainability managers across 4 major world economies. That's the US, Germany, the UK, and France. And our respondents are all right at the heart of this matter, as they work at companies from SME to enterprise across corporate industries and the financial sector. For today's session, I'm joined by 2 experts. We've got Rachel from Sweep and Katerina from Capgemini Invent. So let's start with some introductions. Rachel, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Kelly. So I'm Rachel Delacour. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Sweep. Sweep is the leading sustainability data management platform, and we are like the tech. So we are a SaaS platform, software as a service, and we are the tech strategy within your climate strategy as a company. So we have great partners who we work with in this mission to help businesses with their sustainable transformation. And one of these is, of course, Capgemini. So thank you for being here with us, Katarina. And this partnership has been active for about 2 years now, I would say. And we work with several clients in very, very different industries. And you can see here some of these industries. So we have retail, we have manufacturing, consumer goods, luxury, transportation, also finance, and a variety of use cases that you can see. But Katarina, please introduce yourself as well. And yeah, thank you for being there.
Thank you very much. And hello, everyone. My name is Katrina Latif. I'm a senior director with Capgemini Invent, and I'm absolutely glad to be working together with Sweep and be able to present you the insights of our report today. So our partnership is actually founded on, our key USPs. So it's Capgemini's consulting and business transformation expertise paired with Sweep's digital sustainability data solutions. And with regards to Capgemini Invent, we guide businesses through different ESG challenges. We implement CSRD project, ESG data processes, sustainability target operating models. And Sweep's scope is really very much about technology and data. So it's about utilizing intuitive and interoperable technology and also providing a comprehensive analysis of ESG data. And what value does that bring to our clients? So first and foremost, it really is about simple implementation. So we facilitate the low carbon transition plans that many of you already are working on, are starting to implement with customizable decarbonization strategies. Because without a strategy, you will probably not be reaching your targets. And also, the key value here is that we address your specific challenges. So we tackle complex challenges and really help you adapt to the low carbon economy. And overall, the joint mission of our partnership is really to integrate extra financial data into overall performance management, performance measurement, and in supporting carbon emission reductions and sustainability goals along your complete operations.
Thank you so much for that introduction to the Sweep and Capgemini partnership. So as I mentioned, our conversation today is based on our recent Sweep and Capgemini report, Sustainability in Action. If you'd like to know more about this report or about Sweep or Capgemini's work in this area, here's a QR code to scan on your screen right now. But for now, let's start with the background to the research and our main areas of focus. So increasing regulations and market pressures in the sustainability space are driving a huge demand for transparency among organizations. In the quest to achieve this transparency, data has become a critical asset. And while the importance of data is universally acknowledged, Many businesses and financial institutions struggle to effectively manage the large volumes of complex data they generate. And this struggle is often due to inefficient processes and unleveraged technology. So without the proper tools to manage and analyze sustainability data, organizations are resorting to time-consuming manual methods. And these methods divert attention from strategic analysis and decision-making, ultimately delaying time to value and increasing the risk of errors. In some cases, this data goes unused, leaving businesses at risk of non-compliance and falling behind competitors. But for now, let's dive deeper into the research insights. Sustainability is surely a buzzword that we're hearing from business leaders globally, but how are companies viewing and responding to this paradigm shift? Rachel, the sense of urgency is clear here. What do you think?
Yeah, so sustainability has become a mainstream concern for businesses, definitely. It's been driven by both competitive advantage and corporate responsibility. So in fact, what we can see is 81% of businesses recognize the need for substantial transformation to, quoting, to survive in a low carbon economy. It's super important to understand that 81% of them are saying this. And
Yes,
Katarina, yeah.
and on top, what is really interesting is that companies also look at sustainability as a lever of transformation. So 41% of the businesses that we surveyed in the different countries say that they have integrated sustainability into their organizational culture already, while 35% see it as giving a crucial business advantage. So this is a bit more than a third, which already isn't that bad. And this shift really highlights the growing importance of sustainability in strategic planning.
Yeah, these projects actually are most often led by the CSO, so the Chief Sustainability Officer. But sustainable transformation demands trust from the entire C-suite. And what we can see here is that we've asked, so who is crucial for driving sustainability strategy? Unsurprisingly, the CSO is the most commonly chosen role, so we can see here 54%, but nearly 40% flag the CEO, so 39% exactly, and CEO for 37%. And what's interesting also is that also a quarter also mentioned the CIO, the CFO, the CHRO. So we can see also that at the core, it's a data project, And interestingly, and I think for good, and this is also showing that evolution, but the Chief Marketing Officer was last 16%. So suggesting also that sustainability is far from seen as purely a marketing asset. So for good, showing evolution, as I mentioned.
Yes, and sustainability really creates synergies between the competitive edge and corporate responsibility. So what we're seeing here is the top focus areas for sustainability strategies are pretty diverse across the respondents of the survey. So carbon reduction was actually the most important one with 57%. We then had the second one, which is an important driver these days, cost optimization, with nearly half at 47%. The development of new products and services, which absolutely is, very essential, 45. And then cultural transformation. Interestingly, sustainability transformation also has a huge cultural dimension, and many of our clients already, see that and work with that sort of angle, being reaching up to 41%. So overall, organizations have come to realize that sustainability can be a rallying point while, generating long-term value for all stakeholders at the same time. So for example, a company that embeds sustainability into its culture not only, enhances its brand and reputation and the external perspective of stakeholders, but it also attracts top talent who then prioritize working for environmentally responsible organizations.
Thank you for that. So it's clear that businesses really understand that sustainability brings immense business value, but unless companies get a handle on that transformation journey, this value could slip through their fingers, right? One key ingredient that keeps them on track is data. Rachel, can you talk about the role of data management in corporate sustainability efforts and as well those key challenges? What did our research have to say?
Yes, thank you, Kelly. So data lies at the heart of sustainability transformation. Sorry. Pardon. It helps organization to comply with regulations, definitely. So we can see that there is that 62% about regulations. It's also about tracking emissions for 61% and optimizing operations for 60%. So still, yet many businesses struggle with data complexities and the frequency of data collections. And for instance, our study reveals that 47% of sustainability managers, they are absolutely frustrated by the complexity of the data they manage. 44%, so we're talking here about half of them, handle data from 10 or more sources of data sources. This is huge. And about 2/3, so here 61% of the professionals, they spend more than 4 hours a week on data consolidation. So this complexity can hinder effective decision-making and strategy development, for sure. And efficient data management can transform these challenges into opportunities. So I'm always talking about that data project, etc. But definitely by streamlining data collection and analysis, businesses can gain real-time insight into their sustainability performance. They can be enabled, it's enabling them to make informed decisions much more quickly. We have figures for that, as you can see.
And Katrina, you've stressed the value of establishing robust data management systems. Can you throw some more light on that aspect for us, please?
Yes, of course. Let's talk about that relationship between data quantity and quality. So on the quantity side, the responses show that actually 53% of businesses polled felt that their sustainability data is not comprehensive enough to actually inform strategy. And I mean, this is an alerting figure because this means that half of the respondents feel that they're not informed enough about what's happening in the company. On the quality side, on the other side, there's tons of data by itself, which, however, doesn't really translate into insights if the quality is not right. So collecting data at the right frequencies, efficiently consolidating it, then sort of, sharpening the analytical capabilities of actually creating trends and insights around sustainability data would really give a strategic edge to many of the companies we work with. And overall, efficient data management absolutely delivers, many opportunities and speaks to these points and the needs that we've identified here. So the top opportunities that we identified from our respondents were actually that data quality and efficient management of with data really helps regulatory compliance. So 63% of respondents said that this was really the most important aspect, followed really by 62%, so equal value by evidencing green credentials. These, might be environmental claims or other environmental topics that companies want to, be measuring and managing. Thirdly, tracking of emission reduction trajectories is so important. With companies having SBTi goals, net zero targets, they need to track where they are and how they're moving along the trajectory. Then we had this aspect of monitoring of the organization's own operations. This is essential, and it's also the key lever to actually improve efficiencies and gain efficiencies there, with 60% of respondents thinking that this was key. And then we have two more key use cases. One is, of course, to inform your net zero strategy on, where do I stand? Where do I need to go next? Is my midterm target realistic? And then, of course, also monitoring of the value chain, including your supplier emissions. So it can absolutely ease the burden on sustainability managers, who can then, if you have efficient data management, actually focus on some other things and add value on the basis of the insights they gain. And so data management can really help with this regard. On the one hand, in order to actually drive business-wide collaboration, sustainability managers think that more than half of them think that this is going to be, it will free them up to actually create the collaboration needed. Second of all, conducting more research into how to improve existing initiatives. There's always room for improvement, and this, of course, needs dedication. Thirdly, focusing on improving climate mitigation action. So this also goes into the operational efficiency aspect that I just mentioned before. Environmental managers would love to have more time to spend on actually climate risk modeling, understand the climate impact on their business, and on forecasting. And last but not least, developing more use cases and really thinking out of the box.
Yeah, and when we are talking about efficiency here, definitely data gives flexibility and agility. So with accurate and timely data, businesses can set realistic and achievable sustainability targets. They can monitor progress, as we were mentioning, but they can also adjust their strategies on the go. So this proactive approach is not only improves environmental outcomes, but also boosts the stakeholder confidence when it comes to their climate strategy and competitive advantage, definitely.
Oh, thank you both. So we can clearly see the extent of the data challenges ahead. So let's move on and think about how can companies start to leverage technology to overcome these challenges. Katrina, let's start with you.
Yes, absolutely. So really from what we found is that digital and sustainable really go together. So what this means is that despite the widespread adoption of various digital tools, and 73% of respondents, work with some sort of digital tool, many organizations still rely very heavily on spreadsheets, which can be inefficient and of course also error prone. This also, compromises the auditability of the data, which is so important, particularly with regards to all the, ESG regulations that companies are facing within the EU Green Deal. Auditability is a key issue, and I think also the need to document processes and to make sure that that you can actually be compliant with regulation. And second of all, sort of with lurking greenwashing risks, including also driven by regulation, the EU Green Claims Directive and several other similar directives, companies really can't afford to sort of ignore these sorts of potential errors or areas of improvement. So what this means is that overall digitalization, including the adoption of Gen AI, is seen as essential by 85% of businesses in order to actually drive their sustainability transformation. These technologies, they can automate data processing, of course, provide predictive analytics in some aspects already, very well advanced. And also then from these insights and analytics generate very actionable insights. And these are the insights that the environmental managers and, CSOs in companies really want to work with and want to have. And not only once a year retrospectively when they report, but actually, instantly and when they need to take a decision. So for instance, just as one example, AI, the application of AI can of course help to identify patterns and trends in very large data sets. It can help with clients who want to predict their future carbon emissions or, suggest optimal strategies for reduction of carbon, or also really to gain efficiencies within operations that then help to reduce energy use. So this level of insight is invaluable for businesses who aim to achieve their sustainability targets. And overall, sustainability data software can therefore be really transformative. And when asked, 44% of the businesses cited that partnership with some sort of software provider is actually one of the key drivers of their sustainability transformation.
Thank you. I mean, I know that's what we're seeing. Rachel, as someone who's built a cutting-edge ESG software solution in the shape of the Sweep platform, can you take a moment to tell us how it helps companies get the most out of their sustainability data?
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Yeah, cutting-edge ESG software solutions offer many advantages, such as saving time. We mentioned that already, but improving data quality, facilitating collaborative work. What's important here is that our research reveals the top 5 capabilities organizations expect from an ESG platform. And among them, so there is the efficient data collection, so for 41% of them, ease of use, including easy onboarding. So this is for 36% of them. Strong data privacy and security, you can see for a third of them, and integration with your internal systems, okay? All think about the data sources we've mentioned before, you know, about the 10, you know, kind of data sources out there. So yes, easy integration with your internal systems is key. And the ability also to track emissions across all 3 scopes, 1, 2, 3. So here is a few features from Sweep actually as an example of how our platform solves customers' problem. Like, for example, easy file imports and surveys to upload data from thousands of sources and suppliers across all 3 scopes, quickly and efficiently. Even scope 4, actually, as we are able to help you calculate your avoided emissions. The Sweep 3 organization as well, and our dashboards facilitate collaborative work and give a clear overview of progress. It's all about looking at the evolution, definitely. And this enables users to move from tracking to disclosing, and most importantly, taking action, okay? So thirdly, as well, we know that the CTO has a busy enough life. So Sweep is designed to integrate smoothly into your existing tech stack. We come from that world of business intelligence, etc. So we have partnerships also with Snowflake, with AWS, with Arcadia in the US, and others. And that means we can bring the power of Sweep to your sustainability project, but your way. So what's interesting is really to see that by leveraging these technologies, businesses can overcome actually data management challenges and focus on more impactful sustainability initiatives. It's all about taking action at the end of the day and transform your businesses to last forever. And for example, yeah, automated reporting tools can save hours of manual work. It allowing sustainability managers to focus on strategic initiatives rather than data entry and dealing with all this.
Yeah, I'm sure the sustainability leaders would rather be focusing on outputs and action rather than in spreadsheets.
It has to be part of the conversation, you know, data entry, but at some point it's all about action. So yeah.
So let's have a look at some practical examples of how addressing data management challenges can lead to significant outcomes. Rachel, would you like to kick this off?
Yes. So let's have a look to that customer use case, for example. So we are talking here about a small mid-size corporate. Here we are talking about a consumer electronics manufacturer. And their problem was to measure and reduce their carbon footprint across their supply chain and product life cycle. So what they've made in terms of achievement with Sweep is first to get a complete overview of the emissions, of their emissions across their operations, across their value chain, and per product by collecting suppliers' carbon data. They've been able also to identify emissions hotspots in their product life cycle and strategically act on them. So for example, here we are talking about they made the decision to promote maritime shipment instead of air freight. Seems obvious on the paper, but once you have the data and you understand the cost effectiveness of it, this is when you can really take actions and make decisions. And they could also compare the alternative materials and processes across each stage of a product life cycles to inform the development of low carbon products on their whole chain actually. So for example, I know that they tested different materials to design the most climate-friendly packaging. And this is an ongoing work they are making, you know, to make sure they are in a continuous improvement, you know, when it comes to their core business.
Thank you. So over to Katrina.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So I think this here, the second case study that I would like to present to you is, you know, a big French leader in cosmetics, well-known brand who had a challenge of automizing their greenhouse gas emission reporting. And what we've done, or the challenge overall could be described in a way to say that they were at a point in time where all scope, 1, 2, and 3, with a lot of external data, of course, was really worked on in a very manual process. So the goal here was to implement a robust tool, move away from the spreadsheet, and actually automate also the calculation and the reporting of scopes 1, 2, and 3 greenhouse gas emissions, while at the same time enabling the company for the first time really to have a very granular level of analysis and insights into drivers of these emissions and really potential levers that they could identify. So that was the goal. Sorry. Also, it was really important to our client that they had full transparency over the complete supply chain, and that the data, which then was obviously collected, automated, was also auditable for their, external auditors, to make sure that what they reported on, was absolutely correct, and that they could avoid any accusations or risks of greenwashing. So this aspect of data quality that I've been talking before about, which is important to many companies, was actually one of the key drivers for this client to say that they wanted to go with a tool, do the automation, and really make sure that any sort of manual errors and copy paste errors would actually be avoided. And also because this is a pretty big group with production and operations and lots of logistics, around the globe. Another key aspect was to actually centralize the greenhouse gas emissions data into one single solution, because as is the case with many of our clients, and businesses across sort of any industry, as soon as you have different operations, lots of different country offices, your greenhouse gas data has a lot of different shapes and formats. It comes in all sorts of different documents, and it's completely decentral. And it is very difficult for central sort of steering, for example, group environmental office, to actually have an oversight more than once a year when they do the report. So that was another key driver that really spoke for the tool, to help create that transparency, to make sure that there was zero manual work involved in the future, to ensure auditability, and to make sure that the data would be housed centrally. And so how did we go about this? Well, we delivered an end-to-end, solution in collaboration between Capgemini Invent and Sweep. We really put the client's key challenges and target for this tool at the core of our approach. We were very clear about what needed to happen when, and we then tailored the solution design, and obviously also the configuration of the tool, so that we spoke to all the needs of our client and created sort of an MVP, a minimum viable product, which really, also reflected the key added values that the client was looking for. And on the basis of that MVP, we then, integrated the tool, and also, automated all the processes, so that the greenhouse gas emission data flows, were obviously mapped once, and then, imported into the tool, and automation could start. And then, very important, we also validated the results, because of course, there is just a need to make sure that this really works and the client can work with the insights. And then after that, once testing was done, MVP was rolled out, everything had been implemented, we also make sure that the go live and also the run mode sort of operations, is performed. And here we provided training so that, internal experts and users would, feel secure in handling the tool, and would also be able, we were collecting feedback, would also be able to engage with us during the onboarding journey. The key outcomes that we delivered, was sort of first and foremost an MVP for this greenhouse gas emission monitoring tool that obviously has a global scope. Also greenhouse gas indicators that were sort of available at a much higher level of granularity, as was one of the key targets of this project. And then what happened was, of course, that through the insights and via the data quality assurance and the automation, our client was finally able, to actually implement their net zero strategy and really have the right insights in place. And last but not least, we also enabled some of the other internal stakeholders who along the operational value chain started to work with that data and really were able to, via the insights, start steering the emissions intensity of their areas of responsibility at their specific levels.
I mean, that's such a good point. This is all about collaboration, isn't it? We can't do this alone. We need everybody on board. So yeah, thank you so much for that insight. It's the part that you've all been waiting for. So if you have a question in your mind and you haven't typed it into the box yet, please do go and find the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen now. I'm starting to make some sense of these, and there's a few questions that are coming in around one key theme. Rachel, I think I'll start this one with you. How can our listeners and their companies get CSRD ready?
Okay. Yeah, about being CSRD ready is first welcome CSRD as a fantastic opportunity to transition, because CSRD is nothing else than a playbook actually to understand what you have to collect as data points to monitor which KPIs that are important actually for a transition, and then also to build narratives, to build a transition plan. Okay, so what we've seen with our customers is first, that feeling of oh, I will never be ready for CSRD, I can't be audited, and I don't know where to start, etc., etc. But actually, tech vendors, already are already there, to mask that complexity, because it's all CSRD, it's a data project. Okay, CSRD is in your sustainability project. There is the act part. Okay, that you need to transition, but there is also that regulatory element, and as long as you have the granularity of your data, as long as you are able to deep dive into your sustainability data, your extra financial data, then you have the granularity to report actually on the framework asked by the CSRD. And this is also when you can be audited the right way, because you have that granularity. So it's all about what Sweep at the beginning, in the early days, was really built for the action plan, the collection, the analysis, the monitoring, and then the action plan to decrease, your carbon emissions and all your ESG and monitor your ESG data. But that complexity so that you have access to the final results of the hotspot. Okay, where are coming my emissions? Where from an ESG standpoint, where do I stand compared to my competition? So compared to our own competitors, I would say that ability that we have to, from scratch, we have built, that data platform, data management platform with that analytics granularity in mind. It means that from a regulatory standpoint, we can ensure through time being future-proofing your business from a regulatory, disclosing perspective. So all this, it's I think the DNA that we have since the early days allows us really to help businesses to deep dive, into their extra financial data for the sake of your action plan, in the end. So BI for extra financial, I would say.
Oh, thank you, Rachel. Hopefully you can see what makes Sweep a little bit different now. So over to Katrina for the next question. This is all around data. So we've got a couple of people asking can we give some examples of the kind of data and the data management that we're talking about? Obviously, we kind of talk about carbon a lot, but it would be nice to kind of demonstrate some examples of the kind of data that we're wrangling in these projects.
Yeah, yes, exactly. I mean, I think the carbon angle is used a lot. This is because many of our clients already have been collecting carbon data for quite a while, and many also have, climate action plans or maybe targets that they've published, including some sort of trajectories and roadmaps to decarbonize their core business. So this is why there's a lot of carbon use cases out there. So the data that and the data that's then being really used, is, anything from the energy that's being employed in the production sites, for example, the transportation data with regards to what sort of modes of transport are being used, how are products being shipped from one place to the next. It's also energy efficiency topics that come in. Depending on the production, many companies also work with so not only electricity but also heat. So there's a lot of different indicators at these sorts of levels that would be ingested, which then are, calculated with regards to their carbon intensity. Obviously, it always depends on the energy source, or whether, you have parcel delivery with an electric vehicle or with a gasoline-fired car, or of course, you might be using electricity from solar parks or wind farms or coal plants. Which means that there's a lot of data points that need to be used, sort of used as input to then calculate the carbon intensity of your operations, of transport, of production. And these carbon intensities differ from region to region, from country to country. So this is why it needs a very granular approach. And then once the company has all these input factors and KPIs at hand and can actually calculate its emissions, for example, scope 1 emissions, the own energy produced and how CO2 intensive that is, it will then have to talk to its suppliers in order to actually get the CO2 intensity and CO2 data from, along its supply chain. And all of that can then be aggregated into, overall emission figures, emission intensity, and then from there on be managed towards a trajectory, towards sort of a particular carbon goal. So the data that's being worked on, on a very granular level, are many different input factors that are calculated into, for example, emission intensity. But it really, so this differs from in every industry and from every company. But I think what I want to illustrate is that it's not only one data point that's the same across the world, but it actually really is very specific, depends a lot on the use cases, and that's why you need a platform and an approach that is scalable and that can really be automated.
Yeah, I think that really
which can really allow you to deep dive and to reconsolidate and to deconsolidate and to automate all this, being sure to make the exercise on a regular basis with a growing amount of data.
Exactly.
everywhere, because you're always starting with one parameter and then, oh, I forgot this parameter. Okay, let's add new data sources in it. Tac, 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 tac. So yeah, this is the reality also of our day to day and yours.
Yes, it is. And then, I mean, I think the carbon use case is a very important one for many of our clients because they have targets out there. But on top of that, you know, there's a lot of additional data points that obviously need to be aggregated and reported on, you know, in future. Probably there's going to be so much more reporting on nature and biodiversity. Many companies who have very water intensive operations, they need to know, you know, exactly how much water, how much pollution is going where and where it comes from and how to actually manage that. So there's a lot of different additional elements. I don't want to narrow the tool or, you know, the partnership down to carbon management purely, but it really is the ES and G, you know, aspects of sustainability that need to be quantified because from our perspective, you know, across any business, as long as you do not have insights and you can't quantify the impact of what you're doing, it's going to be very difficult to manage it.
And knowing how it's impacting the top line, the bottom line of businesses today, to make sure that, you know, when you must have your ESG data, you know, being able to be audited today. So when you see that impact, yeah, it's we are really talking about a competitive advantage, definitely.
Thank you, ladies. Right, we have a heap of questions here, and I'm going to try and follow up with some of them after the webinar, because I think we've probably only got time for one more live while we're together. I'll ask you both to listen to this, because I think that you could both have a point of view on this one. But it's really nice to have been contacted by a customer. So they've said, we use Sweep for our GHG inventory, and it's made the carbon footprint calculations much easier. Hooray, thank you. So going forward, how can we effectively act and communicate around our scope 3 emissions that are very unlikely to go down at the moment and for the next 4 years? And I think this is, you know, I hear that question. I think it's what a lot of businesses are really struggling with, you know, kind of looking at how do we continue to be a successful business, a thriving business, a growing business, and kind of decouple that from those growing and scaling supply chain emissions. Who'd like to jump on that one first?
Well, I can get started, maybe. Yeah. So, I mean, this is a key question because I think once you understand your footprint, your carbon footprint, or the carbon footprint, you know, of your supply chain, and you actually see its dimension, and then potentially also see how it's growing out of many different, you know, reasons, there is this very valid question around, well, so how, you know, how am I going to position myself on this topic? And I think from a communication standpoint, you know, what we are now doing together with various customers is actually to very much engage their supply chain and their suppliers directly on decarbonization. So there's a big element of training your suppliers to understand what it is, you know, they're doing and how maybe they're, you know, changing ways of production, transport, and so on and so forth, or maybe product design even would help to decrease carbon intensity. So, you know, we're really running decarbonization enablement workshops and sessions with suppliers of one of our you know, big clients, who are then trained and enabled to understand the data, so they don't only passively report, but they also start to manage it. And so there's, I think, this element of you taking responsibility for your supply chain emissions with regards to making sure that your suppliers are really up to speed on what it is they can do, on international best practices, on, you know, additional efficiencies they can use. And then, of course, I think some of your stakeholders will also be interested, on one hand, on how do I engage my supply chain? On the other hand, am I looking for alternatives? You know, so is there something that I could change in my product design or in the, you know, in the way that you know, my service is operated or offered, that would help to actually increase efficiencies and, you know, sort of decrease emissions. So there's also this idea of the supply chain doesn't have to be static. You can look at potential alternative products, materials, design options, or also, you know, sort of an element of how do I engage then on the other side of the, you know, downstream, how do I engage my consumers or my end clients in responsibly using products and or services, and in making sure that there's also lower emissions on that side. So it really is about, I think, transparency adds a lot of value and protects your reputation. You know, large supply chains are absolutely carbon intensive, and we don't need to hide this element. I think it's a matter of talking about it, making sure that you then engage your suppliers, understand their pain points, create some sort of maybe best practice sharing, help them engage with each other as far as possible, and really try to enable them to find the sweet spots of to increase efficiency and you know, and move towards decarbonization.
Thank you,
Yes,
Rachel.
thank you. No, yeah, it's, and just also acknowledge that the carbon of someone is always the carbon of someone else, you know, in the end. So having this good understanding of your scope 3 is crucial, because as a company, it will impact the way you are able to report on and to, you know, to increase your top line, but also to cherish your bottom line. You know, in the end, this is the why of being able to understand your scope 3. Okay, this is all about it. It's about your own competitiveness, and I would say that that's fine to start small. Also, when you don't know where to start, okay, you can start step by step. You can be very humble. It won't happen overnight, definitely, because your suppliers have also suppliers, etc. We are seeing companies who are saying, okay, we acknowledge that. We will work also with benchmark to understand, even with assumptions, what our value chain emit, okay? And we will start also to concentrate ourselves on the hottest hotspots, okay? And from here, you know, we will start to deep dive and work with the biggest emitter in our supply chain, okay? It can be also a step-by-step progress, as long as you try to be data driven. You know, it's all about understanding, okay, where is supposed to be the priority in my value chain, and how do I nail it until I have something very granular, etc. So we've seen, yeah, even very large corporates, of course, it's on their they are the real agent of change, okay, because they have this reach, in global reach, you know, they can really change the world, actually. So, but it's complex, definitely. Technology can help, digital can help to connect the dots much more easily than just Excel sheets trying to interconnect with themselves. So, yeah, technology is helping, and yeah, it's fine. It all starts with data, okay, and it's fine to start small. It's fine to make mistakes, but what is not fine, it's to not be able to open the books. It's fine to open the books and say, okay, maybe here I didn't get it right. Maybe here I didn't assess it the right way in my value chain. But you must be able to open the books. This is what is the biggest mistakes, actually, for the years to come. It's not be able to show even your mistakes. Okay, I don't know if I'm phrasing it the right way, but this is all about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I had a good summary of this in the last week, which was, don't let perfection be the enemy of progress.
Yeah.
Just get started. And I think that's a really great moment to wrap up. So, you know, a big thank you to everyone who's joined us today for the webinar. I hope you found it really informative. And of course, if you've got any follow-up questions, please do get in touch with Sweep, with Capgemini, with myself. I know I've reached out to a few people on the Q&A session, so please do reach out. And thank you both to Rachel, to Katrina, for sharing your insights into these really vital topics. We'll be putting a recording of today's session online, so if you'd like to share it with your colleagues, if you found it useful, please do go ahead and share. But for now, it's goodbye from all of us. So thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Katarina. Bye bye, everyone. Thank you for your presence today. Merci.
Bye bye.
Salut.